When Goldman Sachs wrote in 2001, a global economics paper, that the world needed better economic BRICS, they probably didn't realize that they may have created a relationship that could define the 21st century. But it was not until 5 years later, when the foreign ministers of Brazil, Russia, India and China met on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, that the idea of BRICS was crystallized. Summit-level meetings began in Yekaterinburg in 2009. Brasilia hosted the second summit in 2010. It was in the third summit at Sanya in China that South Africa became a member of the grouping. The fourth summit was held in New Delhi in March of 2012. BRICS leaders meet regularly on the sidelines of the G20, UNGA, WTO. They work together on a host of issues like food security, trade and finance, and also education. The interesting ideas that are coming out are pooling of currencies to create a currency reserve and also a BRICS development bank. The BRICS countries represent nearly half the world's population. They also cover Asia, Africa, Europe and Latin America. It's only natural then that the engines of growth that this grouping has may be in a stronger position to unlock the potential of the great continent of Africa. The fifth summit of the five most prominent emerging economies of the world, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, was held between the 25th of March and the 27th of March in South African port city, Durban. Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh set the tone for the summit as soon as he landed at the Durban airport. Talking to the media, he described BRICS as a promising grouping.
We have extremely cordial relations with South Africa, and this meeting is the BRICS Summit. BRICS is a new grouping, young but lot of promise, and I look forward to meeting all the dignitaries who are attending this summit.
On his arrival on South African soil, the Prime Minister said that BRICS is young and full of promise. This five-year-old grouping is finding more and more reasons to stick together in building a better future for India's youthful population, the relatively young freedom of South Africa, and the new leadership of China. The meeting of heads of state and government was preceded by a meeting of BRICS trade ministers and captains of industry of the member countries. India was represented by Commerce and Industry Minister Anand Sharma. With the focus of this meeting being on unlocking Africa's potential, the minister said India's association with Africa was linked by the common struggles against oppression. India is playing an important role in the education sector in Africa.
The identified priority areas: food security, health security, agriculture, infrastructure, energy security, education, science and technology, and capacity building. Of course, when we are talking of education, it embraces the entire spectrum of technical education, vocational education, information technology, and sharing of the same. And that we have done through the Pan-African E-Network project, linking 47 countries in Sub-Sahara. It's a major leap in tele-education and telemedicine, linking key universities in different regions of Africa with major universities of India, key hospitals and specialty hospitals in Africa with super specialty hospitals in India. And this entire project, which is linked to the Indian satellite systems, is a gift from the people and government of the Republic of India.
The Indian business delegation was led by Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI. The 80-member delegation of captains of Indian industry had a successful outing in Durban. Indian businessmen inked several bilateral and multilateral agreements and business deals during the summit. It also provided them an opportunity to understand the business environment within the BRICS countries and the African continent in particular.
What are we doing with Brazil today? It's minuscule. Our businesses and trade with Russia was largely defense-oriented. There's a little bit of investment that ONGC has made into the oil and energy space. But there's a huge opportunity between our countries. Africa which was a natural trading partner for India, where India's really missed the bus. I mean, China has gone in and occupied it, and Africa today is actually reaching out to India saying, hey, where are you in this equation? So we have a lot of work to do in terms of establishing these natural relationships as they emerge.
Much is being said about whether BRICS is united more by rhetoric than by substance. However, key meetings of the bloc on the sidelines of multilateral forums like the UN, G20, WTO have strengthened the substance that the grouping could challenge the established world order. Expectations may be high, but even if less is delivered, the Durban Declaration will be a major step forward.
This year's BRICS Summit was especially significant in view of the scale of the agreements reached and their potential impact on the world order. The two most important agreements reached during the summit included setting up of a BRICS Development Bank and a Contingent Reserve Arrangement, or CRA, with a pledged fund of $100 billion. While the BRICS Bank aims at financing the infrastructure and other developmental projects of member countries, as well as other developing countries, the CRA will help bail out member countries from a possible liquidity crisis. The important thing was that both these projects were mooted by India during the 4th BRICS Summit in New Delhi.
In March 2012, we directed our finance ministers to examine the feasibility and viability of setting up a new development bank for mobilizing resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in BRICS and other emerging economies and developing countries to supplement the existing efforts of multilateral and regional financial institutions for global growth and development. Following the report from our finance ministers, we are satisfied that the establishment of a new development bank is feasible and viable. We have agreed to establish the new development bank. The initial capital contribution for the bank should be substantial and sufficient for the bank to be effective in financing infrastructure. In June 2012, in our meeting in Los Cabos, we tasked our finance ministers and central bank governors to explore the construction of a financial safety net through the creation of a contingent reserve arrangement amongst BRICS countries. They have concluded that the establishment of a self-managed contingent reserve arrangement would have a positive precautionary effect, help BRICS countries forestall short-term liquidity pressures, provide mutual support, and further strengthen financial stability. It would also contribute to strengthening the global financial safety net and complement existing international arrangements as an additional line of defense. We are of the view that the establishment of the CRA with an initial size of $100 billion is feasible and desirable, subject to internal legal frameworks and appropriate safeguards.